We're in the era of streaming services. The prime place that we normally go to watch movies at home are streaming services. So I'm going to rank all 6 streaming services that I currently use. Hi, my name is Nathan. I talk about a lot of movies on this channel. If you're new here, down below in the comment section, share your ranking of the streaming services that you use. Over on my channel, I have more content like this. Check those out once this video is over. And if you enjoyed this video, click the like button and be sure to subscribe. It really does help a lot. Also, there are some streaming services that I use other than these. The one that comes to mind, Apple TV Plus for Severance. But these are the types of streaming services that we just sign onto for a little bit and then cancel it, and then when something big comes out that I want to watch, and I didn't include those on the list because I don't really use those year round the way I use these 6 streaming services, very much more so frequently, and so keep that in mind. Also, I tried to balance out this ranking as much as possible. It was actually kind of tough. Like, my number 1 spot, I would say, was pretty easy. But the other 5 I had to balance out, like original content, archive, how much do I use it, stuff like that. And I try to balance all of that out. With that said, let's just get started with the ranking. In last place, for me at least at this moment, is Disney Plus. Now, the bottom 2 on this list, they could change frequently. But I would say maybe the one that sort of frustrates me the most of these 6 streaming services is Disney Plus. Now, don't get me wrong, I still do think that the service is good and is entirely usable. I use all these streaming services very frequently, so that's why they're on this list, is because these are the ones I use year-round, frequently, every month, something like that. And Disney Plus absolutely is one of those, where their archive of content is phenomenal. They have all of their Walt Disney movies, their Pixar movies, they have Star Wars, they have Marvel on there, and since Disney bought the rights to 20th Century Fox, they've added some 20th Century Fox movies on there. So, they added something like Taken on there, which I don't know that fits the Disney brand. We'll get into that a little bit later. But just something that I want to throw on that's easy for me like that. It's kind of fun to see all these movies in one place. But just in general, of these, this is the service that sort of frustrates me the most. You get a phenomenal archive of content like the MCU and Pixar movies and things like that. But, generally speaking, their originals are very, very lackluster. The best thing they put out may be Mando Seasons 1 and 2 as well as Loki. Other than that, all of their Marvel shows range from okay to absolutely mediocre to bad. So something like, Falcon and the Winter Soldier I think is okay. Something like She-Hulk I think is atrociously horrible. You also just the Star Wars original content on there I find to be completely unwatchable. I legitimately find it hard and as a chore to sit through those things. The Acolyte, I only watched 1 episode of it and then stopped because it was already bad out of the gate. I just didn't want to continue watching it. And they're doing more niche things with Andor, which I think are fine, but they're not personally catering to me. Mandalorian season 3, big drop down in quality. I don't tend to gravitate towards their movies. They all just seem very forgettable. And Disney Plus is the type of service that has a very particular archive, where their archive is filled with a bunch of Marvel and Star Wars stuff, but I only go to Disney Plus if I want to watch something specifically Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, any of that. If I am in the mood to browse through a streaming service, which I do very frequently with pretty much every other service on this list, Disney Plus isn't the one I go to just browse through. So it's the one that I only really go to when I have something I need to watch for a video, or if I just want to watch a Marvel movie or a Pixar movie or something like that. And also, the service just sometimes doesn't really run very good. on my downstairs TV or on the Xbox One that's plugged in, where it will just be a black screen when I click on the app for half of the time. That also happened on this TV right here. And so just it probably works the worst of these anyways. So still a good service, but one that has frustrated me with its originals and its practicability. Number 5 is Hulu. Now, to be quite fair, I don't believe I go on Hulu as much as I go on Disney Plus. But what I use streaming services for most of the time is to just browse through their catalog to find what I want, anything I want to watch. If I'm laying in bed or something like that and I want to put on something before I go to bed, I normally sometimes just browse through a streaming service to find something totally random to watch before I go to bed. And that doesn't apply to Disney Plus. That applies to Hulu and every other streaming service. So that is greatly appreciated. Um, as for Hulu's originals, I don't watch a ton of them. Like I've watched a bunch of Marvel Disney Plus shows. Well, but I do hear so many great things about the Hulu TV shows. The Bear being one of them. I've heard great things about. Never seen it, so I can't really comment on it though. Only Murders in the Building. Never seen it, can't comment on it. And so I could tell they've done stuff that is appreciated by other people. As for the ones I've seen, Prey, the Predator prequel, I thought was very good. But just in general, Hulu originals, I don't necessarily go to Hulu to watch one of their originals. I just go there to browse things until I find something. And that's kind of what Hulu is good for. Not necessarily something that what pops out about Hulu. I'm not sure. What pops out about Disney Plus? Family friendly entertainment. For Hulu, I'm not entirely sure how to answer that. And so that's where I have trouble with these bottom two, because Disney Plus is frustrated with me more. Hulu is a little bit more blander. So these bottom two could definitely change a little bit. Maybe if I watched more of their originals, I would understand. But they have some stuff this year that I'm excited for. They're doing another Predator movie that's coming this year. They're doing an Alien TV show that's coming this year. And they have this deal with 20th Century Fox where movies from 20th Century Fox come on here. So I rewatched Alien Romulus as soon as it came on Hulu. But also I forgot to mention, I just don't like sometimes that they have stuff that it's watch with add-ons and stuff like that. I don't like it when streaming services do that. And so there are things that frustrate me about Hulu. Disney Plus probably frustrates me more, but it's also probably one I go to more. So these bottom two are very tricky for me to place. Number 4, Tubi. This is simply just a great free option for a streaming service, So essentially what this is that it's an entirely free streaming service that is entirely ad supported, and I would say it's much better than you might think it is. Why would I want to watch anything on Tubi? But then as you scroll through the options that they have for movies, they have some new releases as well as some old releases. They range all over the place, and I would say they range pretty well. Whenever you want to watch something, it's there. And like I mentioned previously with Hulu, what I normally do with streaming services is that I scroll through them, I find anything I want to watch, like something to put on before bed. And this is probably the number one streaming service that I do it on. I've only been using it for a few months, but it's a great option for just browsing through their archive, their catalog, and they put so much random movies on there, and it ranges from old releases to new releases, and I just find myself using this one more frequently than usually than I would ever expect to use a free ad-supported streaming service. And for an ad-supported streaming service, it's not bad because it doesn't have that many ads. Every 25-minute stretch of a movie, there's going to be 30 seconds of ads. I could live with that, And when I browse through something, that's what I love about these streaming services, that I just browse them and I find something random to watch. For instance, just last night, actually, I watched Terrifier 2 for the first time because of Tubi. So now I've seen Terrifier 2. And it's just that kind of streaming service like that. So very simple streaming service. Like it's not trying to do what like Netflix does or anything like that. It has originals, but you don't go to Tubi for their originals. You just go to scroll something, maybe watch something for free, and it's very good at that. Number three, Amazon Prime Video. Now, this is a streaming service that I've had for forever. This is probably the streaming service that I've had that has lasted the longest in my household. And I use this one quite frequently. Very much like Tubi. It's one that I just browse through, find something to watch. You know, I watched The Hurt Locker recently. That was there. And just like their originals are also nice, really good content. You get The Boys on there, which I enjoy. I haven't seen all of The Boys, but I've enjoyed what I've seen from The Boys. You get sort of Jack Reacher's on there. Jack Ryan is on there. Currently, I'm watching through Invincible, which I'm really enjoying. And so they have a bunch of exclusive content that is probably made for mature audiences, but as somebody that enjoys sort of these action shows, these simple action shows where people are firing machine guns with a nice little plot going on, I enjoy what Amazon Prime has to offer. And even like some of their movies, like with Chris Pratt did The Tomorrow War, which I really enjoyed. That's a little sci-fi movie that came out. They have this deal with MGM going on where there was a point in time where all the James Bond movies were there for free. So I watched through maybe half of the James Bond movies now because of Amazon Prime. And I just think this is a streaming service that I just find myself frequently going back to just to browse through things. And they have some good original content on there. And but there are things that like maybe it would have been placed higher up on this list. It runs a little bit slower than some of these other ones. Like I'd say it runs slower in my house than Tubi or Netflix. But and also I just don't like sometimes that they just put a bunch of random movies on there, and it's not entirely clear what's free and what's not free. So they just put a whole section for movies that you need to rent or buy. I don't really like it when streaming services do that. Like I said with Hulu previously. But a very, very solid streaming service. But what also knocked this one back, along with my number two on this list, is that they started adding ads. Amazon Prime actually now has ads for some of their movies. And so, like, I rewatched Oppenheimer recently, and there was, like, an ad, like a 4-minute ad at the beginning of it, and I went, like, when did Amazon add ads? And apparently you have to pay more in order to get rid of the ads. And my dad says that's ridiculous and that he might cancel it. So I really hope he doesn't. But if he does, I understand that. So they've made some frustrating things here and there, frustrating choices here and there with their actual service itself. But I do think it is one that I go frequently back to. Our runner-up is Netflix. Generally speaking, Netflix is the best streaming service of these ones here. Is it my favorite? As you can see from the placement here, no it is not, but it generally is the most well-rounded and best. When you're just talking about their archive of originals, they put out a bajillion movies every single day, a bajillion TV shows every single week, and all of that is truly impressive how much Netflix gets out of it. And they have put some of the most popular TV shows pretty much ever on here. So then they have the Stranger Things on there. Cobra Kai just ended. My brother absolutely loves Cobra Kai, by the way. But yeah, Cobra Kai is on there. Squid Game, which I still have yet to see, but I know it's insanely popular. Wednesday, I wasn't a big, huge fan of Wednesday or anything, but I thought it was a perfectly fine show. And countless more shows to watch on Netflix. They also, even outside of their originals, they have TV shows that everybody just kind of goes on Netflix to watch. If I want to watch like Breaking Bad or something, it's on Netflix. It's not on like AMC Plus where it aired, because I don't have that. It's on Netflix. Better Call Saul's also on Netflix. And they have a deal with Sony going on where the Sony movies get dropped on there. And so this is a streaming service I find myself frequently going back to. When it comes to their original movies, though, wow, like I do not care nearly as much for their original movies. When I talk about they put a bajillion movies every day, most of them are just these absolutely generic action movies that I'll probably forget within the next week. Just earlier this month, no, not this month, last month they put out Back in Action. Don't really remember the plot of that movie all that much because all these movies are so forgettable. My dad recently put on this movie called Triple Frontier on Netflix that I watched 40 minutes of and then stopped watching because I just didn't care for it all that much. And so their original movies are just totally forgettable. Like you have Red Notice. I do like that they also have the Knives Out franchise. I am excited for the next one coming out. And so Netflix has some things that are very, very solid, very, very good, and also some low lows here and there. In fact, but maybe the highs would outshine it so much to be at number one, except this is another one, much like Amazon Prime, where now I have the deal that has ads on Netflix. So, and it's even worse for Netflix, because not only do they have ads for some of their content, but the some of the options to watch on Netflix. Like I tried to rewatch Across the Spider-Verse like last month. I couldn't do it. It was like locked because I was on the ad-based platform. And so I think it's ridiculous that you're paying streaming services in order to get ads. That probably knocked Amazon Prime and Netflix from being higher up on the list. But very much still, Netflix has had a big, gigantic impact. It has so many great originals, so many not so great originals, but the great originals really are great. And so I just think Netflix is a very good streaming service that I find myself going back to. And also, it's just a nice one for browsing once again. But for me, coming in first place is Max. And what I feel like Max does so well is that it has everything that I love about these streaming services, and it kind of just mashes it all together into one. The best thing I like about streaming services is just the browsability. Just scrolling through something, laying in bed, seeing what I could put on before I go to bed. Maybe an episode of television, maybe a film. And this movie just has so much like Amazon, random action movies and random horror movies, something for everyone in there. And their catalog ranges from old classic films to brand new releases. Like the new releases will literally come in here like a month after they've released in theaters, their new WB releases. And I just think that is very convenient. That is great. So I use it quite frequently. And it's also a very organized streaming service as it has all these hubs where you could check out. So obviously the with HBO Max, you have HBO, which puts out premium television, and so they have that catalog. You have Game of Thrones is on there, and even recently, The Last of Us is on there, House of the Dragon, and The Penguin, which was my favorite thing that came out in the year 2024. That is on HBO Max as one of their originals. Peacemaker, which I think is just great. Zack Snyder's Justice League was one of the first things that I think I ever watched on HBO Max, and I just thought that was great. And they have a catalog with an archive for a bunch of DC movies. They have every DC movie on here. So that is just a phenomenal archive you got here. And you also got some anime in there. They have a deal with Warner Brothers where you have all their Warner Brothers movies on there. We have the Harry Potter movies on there. You have what was I going to say? The A24 now has a deal with HBO Max where they put A24 movies on there, so that is very nice. And so they have such a big range for all the catalogs that they're in. Well, not only is it good for browsing, they have a very organized set of things where if you want to watch something specific, you could go. But if you just want to browse, it's also good for that as well. And it runs pretty fast. I don't think I've had any significant problems with HBO Max. And this is just because it's a premium cable, and I frequently go there. Their originals I don't watch as much as Netflix originals, but the originals that I do watch are very, very good. This is just a streaming service that I go to very frequently, and they don't have the problem with Amazon or Netflix where they have ads. They don't have a disorganized setting where you have to pay for a premium subscription in order to watch something. No. This is just a simple streaming service that you could browse on. You could watch anything you want on here, And so for me, this is the one I find myself going back to the most. So HBO Max is my favorite streaming service. There you have it. That's my ranking of the streaming services. Down below in the comment section, share your ranking of the streaming services that you use over on my channel. I have more content like this. Check those out right now. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end. I will see you in the next one.